I told you the most powerful hurricanes we're seeing today aren't just natural disasters? Could governments be, I don't know, manipulating the weather for hidden purposes? These videos will make you question everything. So remember, this is for entertainment purposes only.
Conspiracy theories about controlling the weather are not new, but with back-to-back hurricanes, the conspiracy theory is starting to emerge even more, that hurricanes are being geoengineered to target specific voters ahead of the 2024 election. It started with former President Trump basically accusing FEMA of not providing resources to Republican strongholds, especially in the battleground state of North Carolina. Building off that false claim, U.S. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene saying that they control the weather, they meaning either Democrats, the government, or meteorologists.
Meteorologists do not control the weather.
Still, with experts and scientists and officials debunking these conspiracy theories, many are warning that these conspiracy theories are trying to politicize the hurricane and are distracting from information, crucial information needed to save lives.
Listen, the fact that people have to come out and say it now should have your antennas raised. You should be well alert and paying attention and trying to figure out what's going on. Like, I think we're past the whole, no, they can never be controlling the weather. We're past that now, right? Aren't we? I think we know that something's going on. Or we at least have some type of speculation. We've seen what happens over in Dubai. We've heard that. If you haven't, go look that up. And then that should just really enhance and excite your curiosity.
Discovered the technology to create Category 5 hurricanes
in Miami, where researchers are creating their own storms in a state-of-the-art lab. It could end up saving lives. Mark, good morning.
Good morning. This tank gives scientists and the rest of us a view no one has ever had before. What a hurricane's power looks like at water level as it storms ashore. In just 2 minutes, scientists here can take calm waters and turn them into a monster hurricane.
The wind is gradually getting stronger and stronger as it's coming up here, and it's ramping up to a Category 5.
I don't even need to see the visual. Just hearing the audio of that, bro, I'm telling y'all, man, just entertain it for a little bit.
It's probably about a Category 3 right now.
This 75-foot-long tank is the first simulator in the world capable of creating a Category 5 hurricane over water.
What do you think happened with the hurricanes?
I think there was an upcoming storm, and then I think government set in with whatever it is that they do. I don't know all the specifics about it. I'm not an expert in cloud seeding or whatever it is that they use to magnify the storm to a higher degree to disturb a land that may be wanted for lithium that Harris's husband is partaking in.
So they made the storm stronger, so it would hit the.
With this one.
You think that Milton, they're making it stronger?
From a 2 to immediately to a 5, like instantaneously.
You're implying that the government made a hurricane stronger to hurt its own country, the United States of America?
Correct.
And what would be the gain of that?
If like there's been people out there, if they have an Alexa, I don't know if you've heard that, and they've asked what caused Milton.
Okay.
You can go on there now. It's already predicted the number of deaths and the amount of. It's already predicted it. You on a Google.
I'm not doing that. I am not. Some things I just don't want to know, and that's for me. You know what I mean? That's my choice. Cause I know me, and if I ask that device, which is sitting to my right shoulder, listening to me right now as I speak, if I ask that device something like that, and it starts telling me and spitting out some things, I'll be up for the rest of the night, probably well into tomorrow night, still up looking into things. You know what I mean? I know it. So I'm just trying to preserve my sleep, but whew, that'll drag me down a rabbit hole. I know it will.
On Google, it won't do that. If you ask it about Helene, it'll tell you the government actively used seed clouding. This is before Helene even happened.
Why would a country want to have a hurricane be strong and hit its own country?
Because they want to control certain places. And if you're looking at where the hurricane's going, it's a lot of red states. If you're looking at the counties in North Carolina that were hit, there were all of them, 26 out of 28 of those counties were for Trump. They're doing whatever they can because they can't rig the election.
Even control the weather?
Yes.
But you will call it misinformation.
A quiet season can produce a devastating hurricane. Mark Strassman is in Miami, where researchers are creating their own storms in a state-of-the-art lab. It could end up saving lives. Mark, good morning.
So now we get the visual. This was a CBS News interview. Wow, or a story, whatever you want to classify it as.
Good morning. This tank gives scientists and the rest of us a view no one has ever had before. What a hurricane's power looks like at water level as it storms ashore. In just 2 minutes, scientists here can take calm waters and turn them into a monster hurricane.
The wind is gradually getting stronger and stronger as it's coming up here, and it's ramping up to a Category 5. It's probably about a Category 3 right now.
This 75-foot-long tank is the first simulator in the world capable of creating a Category 5 hurricane over water. Brian House is the director of the University of Miami's new laboratory at the Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science. What was it like when you cranked it up the first time, full blast?
It was stunning. I mean, it was it was chills.
Nearly 40,000 gallons of seawater fill this tank. House uses a computer program and a single 1,700 horsepower fan to whip wind speeds up to 157 miles per hour.
This tank is the largest wind wave facility in the world. We can generate an extreme Category 5.
House and his team want to understand why some hurricanes make landfall and fizzle out, while others become catastrophes.
It's the heat of the ocean that powers the hurricane. We know that gasoline drives a car, but if you didn't know how much you were pouring into the engine, you wouldn't know how fast it's going to go.
What this is going to help teach you is how the gasoline gets into the engine of the hurricane.
Exactly.
Their focus is storm surge. Rising waters historically cause 9 out of 10 hurricane-related deaths. During Hurricane Katrina in 2005, storm surge killed 1,500 people. Dr. Rick Knapp, director of the National...
Now, I had several things that went through my mind watching that video. Like, okay, are we trying to figure out a way to prevent these hurricanes from happening? Is that the reason why we built this device? That's what most people would think. On the surface, most people would say, okay, they're doing that for that. It's all for the good. But how many times have we thought something was for the good that ended up not being for our good? And it ended up being bad for us. So you have to keep that in mind in the back of your mind when you're analyzing these things. It seems right, but what else can it do? What else will they use it for? Right? What else can they use it to gain? That's where I start thinking about it. And yes, you could potentially see how to orchestrate a hurricane to happen for your own benefit. Whomever. You got to think about that.
I am sick. I am sick of your shit. And when I'm not sick, I'm tired.
Lots of people online, by the millions, are discussing weather modification. Has the government figured out how to build a storm into a superstorm that will destroy everything in its path, and then how to aim it right for where they want to aim it? It just happens to miss South Florida, where all the Democrats live, and it's aimed for the West Coast, where all the conservatives that they consider rednecks live, who are all voting for Trump, 100% Trump voters.
Like, I haven't taken this thing political, but it seems like people are really taking this whole thing political. That's where the buck stops for them. It's either Democrats or Republicans, and they're doing this for their own political gain, and they're doing this for their political gain. That's what the onslaught and the barrages of comments and everything are geared towards now. Is about this election, to where I've been talking about this way before this election, the previous election, all of that.
Voters. And Hurricane Helene, same thing. Hit Florida on the West Coast, where all the Trump voters were, and then went inland and became the worst storm ever inland. And now another one following that one that formed in the Gulf? That's a Category 5 that never started in the waters off Africa? Something strange is going on. It's a double play. First we create it, then we make it a superstorm, the biggest of all time, right before the election, to make people homeless so they can't vote. They can't even get a ballot. There's no address. And then we aim it right at areas that are predominantly conservative, Republican, Trump areas.
Hey friends, let's discuss this wild Hurricane Milton real quick. So it just developed into a powerful Category 5 with 175-mile-an-hour winds. This is an insanely strong storm, one of the strongest on record. And it happened very fast, and it's taking a path that's super unique. I live in Florida, and I don't think I've ever seen a hurricane start there and zip to the east across the Gulf the way this one's doing. And I've heard other meteorologists and people that have been studying this a lot longer than me say the same thing. This is very peculiar. Now, the intensity of it is also off the charts. I mean, this thing is, if we had a Category 6, it would probably be at that point pretty soon. And it's also headed right at Tampa Bay, which is one of our most populated parts of Florida. And as the name suggests, Tampa Bay has a bay, and where this storm is projected to hit right now. And hopefully this changes, because this is worst case scenario, is the dirty side, which is the right side, the east side, or in this case, the south side of the storm, would be going into the bay and pushing this insane storm surge. I mean, they're talking 10, 15, 20 feet in some places of storm surge. That's water 2 stories tall, pushed into the bay. And so many of the places over there are already flooded out and having issues from Hurricane Helene. So this is all worst case scenario. And I don't want to get too off track of the focus, because the focus needs to be on the people there getting out of harm's way and then the recovery afterwards. But I thought I would take this time to look at a couple of the things people have been talking about, because everyone's sending me messages saying, Jordan, are you seeing this? This is obviously weather modification. And Jordan, are you seeing this? This is obviously climate change. And I've looked at all of it. So people are like, Jordan, you need to look into HAARP. I mean, I can't believe I said the word. Last time I did a video on HAARP, it got taken down. I got one of my strikes. So I have deep dove on that antenna array in Alaska many times, done many videos on it. I always get in trouble for talking about it. But it's very weak for the most part, and it mostly has to do with the ionosphere. When we had the northern lights down here in Florida several months ago, I did a video on the fact that they were doing an experiment at HAARP in Alaska, and they were charging the ionosphere at the same time as the solar storm we had, and that's what caused the northern lights here. I got in trouble for that video. I know all about that thing up there that I can't say. And I in no way am saying that I don't think our government can or would modify the weather. They've obviously been trying to do it for a very long time. There's all sorts of patents. But when you look at these patents for weather modification, almost all of them have expired because they didn't work, or they're just kind of bogus patents. Now, I'm not saying they're not trying. Of course they're trying. They're on record talking about how they've put dry ice in their hurricanes. They've done all sorts of crazy things, shooting lasers into them. Of course they're trying, and of course they would. My whole thing is, can they? And then you also just have to look at the fact that, okay, this is Hurricane Alley. This is peak hurricane season right now. So having strong hurricanes in Florida isn't really crazy. Now, some of the behaviors of them have been off. What happened with Helene, that was unique. But they also forecasted it. The AI model showed it going up and then going to the left like that, but they showed it doing a little stalling out, little crazy 8 over Tennessee, and it actually did that over North Carolina. But that was all forecasted way in advance of the storm actually happening, which to me doesn't suggest that the government manipulated it. It suggests that we live in a digital virtual reality, and the AI models can actually accurately predict the future. If it was modified by humans, then it wouldn't have matched so accurately with the predicted path that AI had. Just like this hurricane is following a predicted path that it predicted before the hurricane even formed. So if it was being modified, then the AI and these computer models that are just going off of weather patterns and data would not have been able to account for human modification and human manipulation. See what I'm saying? So I don't think they're being modified and manipulated, because if that was the case, then they would be acting differently than the models are, predicting. Tell me if I'm wrong there. That's what makes sense to me. Again, it's not that I'm giving a pass to the people at the top saying that, oh, they would never do this. Of course they would. I just don't know if they can. And of course they're playing around with patents and technologies and sciences to try to figure out how to do this. Of course they are. They want to use weather as a weapon. But I don't know if they can do this level of things yet. Maybe they can. Maybe I'm missing something. But I just don't see it. So then what does that leave us? Well, you have like the whole global warming, climate change thing, that hysteria, which I don't typically buy into, but the waters in the Gulf are very hot right now. Some places record hot. Some places are actually 2 degrees hotter than they were 2 years ago, which is a pretty big deal. So that's fuel for the hurricane fire. So I do think that the Earth's climate is changing, but it's not because we're driving Hummers and eating steaks. That's just what they want you to think, so that you're mad at yourself and you put down your neighbors and you're not looking at the real problem, which I think is the weakening of our magnetic field. I think that is actually a far more significant worry than any of these other things, because it's going to have like catastrophic consequences as opposed to targeted ones. The government at some point will figure out how to make and steer hurricanes, I'm sure. They're mad scientists. But even that is not, I think, as significant as the magnetosphere, our magnetic force field that protects Earth, the weakening of it, and what that could mean. And, I can't even say POLEFLIP. I can't say that word either, because every time I do, I get flagged. But that to me is sort of the bigger concern in all this. And the weakening of our magnetic field. We just had 2 giant X-class solar flares last week that all of a sudden are like supercharging these hurricanes. And I know that like meteorologists and scientists say that the sun does not have that effect on Earth. I don't understand how they get that and why they think that the sun, which is as powerful as it is, does not directly affect, the events that happen on Earth like that. I don't understand. It's so full of energy. And when it is, ejecting and projecting these shotgun blasts of charged energy particles at Earth, how would it not fuel energetic events on Earth? So tell me where I'm wrong there, but I just don't understand how people can think that the sun does not have a direct effect on weather on Earth. It doesn't make any sense how people can think that. I think they don't know how it does it, so they just ignore it and say, nope, it doesn't, because we can't explain it, and scientists don't like to say we don't know. So it's easier for them just to say, nope, that's pseudoscience, you're stupid, sit down.
No, I agree with him on that. It absolutely does. Sun, the moon, the star, whatever star that is orbiting around your planet can affect it. If you look at other planets, and you could tell the planet with the big red spot, is that Jupiter or Saturn? I always get them confused, whichever one it is. With the one with the big red spot, it tells you that storm has been going on for years, and its orbit has something to do with it too. The way, the speed at which it orbits. So it's a lot of different factors that go into play with these storms, hurricanes, different things like that. Absolutely. I'm not just saying that they're not, it's also that too. So it's several different factors it could be. But to completely rule out the government, I'm not doing that.
But I think that the sun does affect events on Earth, like volcanoes and earthquakes and hurricanes. I think it does, but I'm not a scientist, so tell me what you think. But I think that more than likely, these storms are affected by our sun, and more likely they're more affected because the magnetic field is weakening, so there's more of a direct effect. And that, I think, has more of an explanation as to why these storms all of a sudden kicked up the way they did, acted a little bizarrely, and intensified in the ways that they did. I could be wrong, but that's what I think. Again, not giving the government a pass. HARP is a thing. It is active. Now the military no longer runs it. It's the University of Alaska, I think. But they are doing experiments, and I do believe that they did charge the ionosphere, and that caused the northern lights that we had here in Florida and Puerto Rico and places like that. So I do understand that that is a thing, and they are using that in ways they probably shouldn't. But as far as creating and steering and manipulating hurricanes, I don't have enough proof to say that. I think they would if they could, but I don't know if they can. Climate change is a thing because the Earth's climate is changing, because it always changes. It always has, it always will. But I think right now it has a lot more to do with the weakening magnetic sphere and then the strengthening of the sun as we go into the solar maximum. I think that is influencing our weather a lot more than anything else, but it's not talked about. I don't know why. So I thought I would talk about it. Anyways, everybody in the path of the storm, beware. It is a monster. It is a scary one. And I would get out of the way if I was. It seems to be going more north of Tampa. All the models I've seen show it going north of the National Hurricane Center track. So if you're in like Homosassa Springs, Clearwater, Tampa for sure, everything north of that, even going over to Orlando and the villages, even Jacksonville, that seems to be the path that it's taken. Now, if you're down south of it, also, Siesta Key, that whole area, I mean, no one's, out of the woods, but it seems to be like it's going to go and cut like that and go up through Tampa. So a lot of those folks up there, Gainesville area and that stuff, they weren't getting the same kind of urgent warnings that everyone down south was getting. And I think that area might get slammed pretty good. But anyways, everyone beware, and stay safe. Love you guys, and let me know what do you think about all this. Peace.
So the other thing that it could possibly be that a lot of people talk about is they use the storm to present a problem that they can fix and solve, and that goes back to campaigning as well, getting in front of people, telling them you're here to save them, fight for them, all this type of stuff. You're sending money, you're sending aid. It's all a display. Sometimes people feel that way as well. You know what I mean? But at the same time, this is our simulation, baby. This is our simulation. So what you got to say about it? Does it even matter in our simulation if the script is already written?
I'm not saying that the government created Hurricane Helene. What I am saying is that the government has been manipulating the weather since 1947. What first caught my attention with Helene was the shift in the storm's projected path. One day, it looked like it would hit my town. The next day, it had shifted east. I then noticed an odd flight path of NOAA 42, the aircraft being flown, the Lockheed Martin Orion P-3. This prompted me to look at previous uses for the P-3, where I discovered that they were used in the 1960s to manipulate Hurricane Camille in a, quote, weather war on Cuba. Now, I know this sounds out there, but as we begin to see more and more the terrible things our government has done in the past, is it really so far-fetched? Here are the projections from the 23rd of September. A large spread traveling the Alabama-Georgia line and ending up in Illinois. On the 24th, projections shift slightly east, and the storm is projected to finish in Indiana. On the morning of the 25th, the path shifts back west and shows to be finishing in western Kentucky. That evening, a P-3 conducts a 6-hour operation inside the developing storm. The next morning, on the 26th, the path shows to have shifted slightly east again, now finishing in northwestern Tennessee. The evening of the 26th, the same P-3 conducts operations throughout Hurricane Helene as it makes landfall, and the storm's actual path shifts further east, finishing in northeastern Tennessee. What would the government's motivations possibly be to modify a storm? That I don't know. But I do believe that if we can maintain our republic long enough, time will eventually tell.
Just like Maui, the government is setting the people of Florida up right now for disaster. Listen to me, guys, this is scary. They are trying so hard to convince the people of Florida that this is only going to be a Category 1 when it hits the coast. People, the ocean temps off the coast of Florida are hotter than they have ever been recorded in history. It is not going to be only a Category 1 hurricane, I promise you. Oh, and just 24 hours before this hurricane's supposed to make landfall, 85% of Florida gas stations have reported that they have diesel fuel in their gas. The gas has been contaminated. People, come on.
Our government is weaponizing the weather. I do not care how crazy that sounds. It is true. There is no coincidence of all the record-breaking wildfires, extreme weather events that we've had in just the past year. I'm sorry, I'm calling bullshit. So, long story short, this is going to be a major hurricane. Treat it as if it's going to be a Category 5. Pack your shit, fuel your cars up if they're not already. Try to make sure it's not contaminated with diesel fuel.
Now the claims are getting even more bizarre. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the congresswoman from Georgia, is now saying the federal government is literally controlling the weather. We're controlling the weather. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so stupid. It's got to stop.
Donald Trump at a rally just started making up stories about the Biden administration withholding aid from Republican areas and siphoning off aid to give to undocumented immigrants. Just made the stuff up. Everybody knew it wasn't true. Even local Republicans said it was not true. And now the people of Florida are dealing with another devastating storm. And I want you to watch what happens over the next few days, just like the last time. You're going to have leaders who try to help, and then you have a guy who will just lie about it to score political points, and this has consequences. Because people are afraid, and they've lost everything, and now they're trying to figure out, how do I apply for help? And some of them may be discouraged from getting the help they need. The idea of intentionally trying to deceive people in their most desperate and vulnerable moments. And my question is, when did that become okay? I'm not looking for applause right now. I want to ask Republicans out there, people who are conservative, who didn't vote for me, who didn't agree with me. I had friends who disagreed with me on every issue. When did that become okay? Why would we go along with that? I mean, if your coworkers acted like that, they wouldn't be your coworkers very long. If you're in business and somebody you're doing business with just outright lies and manipulates, you stop doing business with them. Even if you had a family member who acted like that, you might still love them, but you tell them you got a problem. And you wouldn't put them in charge of anything. And yet, when Donald Trump lies or cheats or shows utter disregard for our Constitution, when he calls POWs losers or fellow citizens vermin.
Can we confirm that? Will you confirm that he was saying that about POWs, bro? Seriously? I didn't hear that, so I need to confirm that one there. That's crazy, but he has a point. There got to be a difference between questioning and then just spreading misinformation. Like, we're questioning. I question. I have to, bro. I cannot sit back and just take everything that the information that is given to us. I have to question.
People make excuses for it. They think it's okay. They think, well, at least he's owning the libs. He's really sticking it to them. It's okay as long as our side wins. And by the way, I'm sorry, gentlemen. I've noticed this especially with some men who seem to think Trump's behavior, the bullying and the putting people down, is a sign of strength. And I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been. Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves. That is what we should want for our daughters and for our sons, and that is what I want to see in a president of the United States of America. And the good news is that you have candidates to vote for in this election that demonstrate that kind of character, who know what real strength looks like, who will set a good example and do the right thing and leave this country better than they found it. So, Pennsylvania, that is the choice in this election. It's not just about policies that are on the ballot. It is about values, and it is about character. So whether this election is making you feel excited or scared or hopeful or frustrated or anything in between, do not just sit back and hope for the best. Get off your couch and vote. Put down your phone and vote. Grab your friends and family and vote. Vote for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.